Before joining Purity and Peace, my personal outlook on purity was that you're supposed to wait until marriage, and that was really it. It didn't have a very holistic view. I didn't really understand why it was so important. I just knew don't have sex.
Before joining Purity and Peace, my personal outlook on purity was that it was just, talking about like the sexual nature. But as I got into the group, I just learned that it was about way more than that. It was about, keeping your temple clean, keeping your body pure, but it was also about the mind and, about who you associate yourselves with.
After taking Purity and Peace, I felt more comfortable speaking about these struggles that the Christian community doesn't really speak about, especially women. And now I feel like it's okay to open up about these things because I'm sure that other women are struggling with them as well.
Before joining Purity and Peace, my outlook on purity was a little tainted. My views on purity was that it was for the younger generation and for a selected group of people that kind of were encouraged to maintain that lifestyle growing up. And for me, I just felt like I had already committed so many sins that I didn't even realize that purity was something that was available to me.
As a teen, I participated in a True Love Wait ceremony. It definitely didn't encompass why purity was important to God, why purity mattered for me personally, how He created me, and the greater design that I now know is a part of my living a pure lifestyle.
Just in this day and age, there's like so much going on social media and the media itself. It's kind of tough to maintain purity with all that's going on in the world. So it is definitely something that I would say I struggle with.
The topic that hit me the most, or that I took the most from, was the temple. Back then, the temple had to be a certain way. What I took from that is that the Lord wants us to be a certain way. He wants our bodies to be pure. He wants our minds to be pure. He wants our hearts to be pure. If not, how can you fully serve it or let Him use you if those things are not pure?
We mirror the Old Testament temple, and it just really showed me how sacred sex is and why it's so important to wait until marriage. That's a hard lesson to teach to a room full of people who have already kind of messed that up, so to say. And I was really overwhelmed by God's grace. I felt like, wow, I dropped the ball there, but there is always an opportunity for restoration, and I'm now living in that restored place.
The lesson that stood out to me the most was setting healthy boundaries in relationships, and that's both not just intimate relationships, but also, friends and family as well. Just kind of taking my peace and my purity into consideration and using that to determine how I deal with people, or even how I receive the way people deal with me.
I've been more intentional with creating relationships with other women after taking Purity and Peace because I see the importance of it now. I'm being transparent, showing women that it's okay to be sad, it's okay to cry, it's okay to mess up, but we're going to figure out a way to get out of this place.
I've learned about thoughts and not entertaining negative thoughts, because we know that negative thoughts, they're not of God. And just recognizing those thoughts and casting down those thoughts, as soon as they come, because it all starts in your mind. And once it takes root in your mind, things will follow, and not good things. So this group has really taught me to, identify those negative thoughts when they come, because they will come.
Peace is something that I did struggle with. Stress is just a part of life, and I feel like after going through the Peace and Purity Life Group, I have learned coping skills. I've read different books on, things to do to kind of protect myself and my spirit. I now have, like I said, a group of women that I can turn to if I need prayer or support or just someone to talk to.
In the 7 days of creation, God said the only thing that was bad was that man was alone. And naturally, when I would hear something like that in the past, it would make me cringe because I was alone, I was single, I was divorced. But when I heard that, I wasn't viewing it that I needed a man or I needed a boyfriend. I viewed it more as the importance of a community in general to create a safe place, a strong place, not only for me, but for other women. And it didn't hurt me to hear that man was alone and that he needed someone. It encouraged me and made me feel better. It made me view the book of Genesis a little different as well, along with the book of Acts.
It's like a non-judgmental zone. You can feel free to talk about a lot of things and not feel condemned. And that's very, very important because, nowadays people like to judge and people like to point a finger. I would just tell anyone, if you're looking for a safe zone, if you're hurting in whatever type of way and you feel like there's no one here for you to listen to your story, to encourage you, I would encourage you to join this group.
In Purity and Peace, there was a safe environment that was created because you can tell there were people that had their guard up, and then there was other women that were freely transparent. It's important to have a balance of transparent women and guarded women to teach the women that it's okay to open up and that we can trust each other as women, that we were there for something positive and to uplift each other versus hurt each other.
Purity and Peace was the bridge from this is who I want to be and this is how I want to live to being that person who waits on the promises of God, that person who knows she's beautiful because God created her that way, that person who's not worried about the stresses of everyday life because she knows that God has her. I would say, if you're even thinking about purity and peace, if it's even on your heart a little bit, do it. It is the best thing that I have done. It has freed me. It has changed me for the better. And I know that that's out there for everybody.